through trying to write this stuff down and interpret what I was writing down, I was eventually able to admit to myself I was a culture assassin for the United States government. And that's what the United States government is training people to do in the special operations community. You go into an indigenous society, pretty much, a simple society construct, and train them to fight or train them to do something for the United States government in their interest of the United States government. And then, like an instance in Afghanistan, you try to replace their system of government with our system of government and tell them that's what freedom is and that's how things should work. When that's, that has nothing to do with their lifestyle and how they live. That's us trying to tell other people how they're supposed to live. Until the occupation of Iraq and Afghanistan end, and we both understand that's, that could be the course of our lifetime, but I really don't intend on being a cog in this machine until this government has decided to admit that they failed and to admit that we shouldn't have gone in there in the first place. It is my opinion that it's time for the United States to stop screaming about justice and to start asking for forgiveness. We're obviously getting to a point in this nation to where we can no longer pretend like we can control the world. We need to start fixing the problems here. This nation is dissolving around us while we still spend, 10 to 20 million a week on occupations that are failing. There's some serious lack of critical thinking there within our government. But most of the ride revolves around speaking engagements. We'll go into we've gone into small towns and large cities, and we do whatever community organizing we can in the area. It largely revolves around the political climate. If it's a really conservative military community, which we run into in the South often, sometimes the small media or local media won't pick up anything that we're saying. We'll go in with a press release, try to talk to them about what we're doing. No, they won't have anything to do with it. But sometimes, there'll be an outlet in the local media who will. So if it looks like we can plug something locally, we'll stick around, try to organize a speaking event, try to find other veterans in the area and give them the opportunity to speak out as well. Well, Mr. Recruiter, I want to blow shit up. What can you do for me? Can't you hook me up? Well, you can jump out of planes, learn to fight and dance for days, serve the country, and get paid. Golly, sign me up, man! Now I'm all American. Now I'm all American. Now I'm all American. We can get them to listen to the music, and oh, hey, funny, they play bluegrass, but they're also trashing up the Sam at the same time. Well, Mr. Recruiter, I'm stuck in this small town, and I ain't got no place to go. Can you get me out? Well, you can see the world. Go to college and get the girls. Get your mom to sign your name and get paid. Golly, sign me up! Well, now I'm all American. Now I'm all American. Now I'm all American.
protest the wars.
How's that going for you?
It's going pretty good. So far they haven't arrested me. I don't know when the warrant's going to be out, but it's going to stay statewide for about a month before it goes nationwide. And I'm not in my state very much, so I got a little extra time there. But I really like to find other veterans and active duty members and reserves who also don't like the wars and see if they'd like to protest a war with me. Well, there's a couple of things that could happen. I could be discharged just like that and keep it low-key, taking care of it like that. I could go to jail and stay there for a few months, military prison or state prison, depends on which one they want to use. Or I could be made an example of, and they could pretty much do whatever they want with me. But it's really in their hands. I've made my move, and I'm waiting for them to do what they plan on doing.
This is my little brother, by the way. It's funny, like, when we talk to people about this, it's like, yo, you realize you're going to go to prison, you know? You're going to go to jail for a while. We're like, yeah, that's true, but, you know, they already trained him to fight and kill between 10th and 11th grade. I think sitting in a jail cell for a little while is it's not going to be that hard.
I'm carrying a library. I'm carrying a collection of books.
How many miles have you guys ridden already?
I don't know, we haven't really got a chance to track it out yet.
Where'd you start from?
Fayetteville, Arkansas, May 1st. Went all the way down to New Orleans, and now we're 100 miles out from Texas.
I got a book of poetry I put together that is a bunch of poems that kind of show the transition from nationalist maniac to someone who feels like they need to do something about occupation. Terror, an instance or cause of intense fear or anxiety. Terrorism, violence or threats of violence used for intimidation or coercion. What is terror? To us, an abstract concept, a heavily armed man or a harmless insect, buzzing here and there each time the wind blows. The more terror we make, the more terror we create. How to stop it, nobody knows. I ran off a helicopter, looked in a man's eyes. The face looking back said terror, to my surprise. How am I different? I'd feel the same playing banjo on my porch watching troops jump out of planes. How long will those people suffer? As long as we can tell ourselves their life is not the same. I was taking a cultural anthropology class and I was trying to write about an experience that I had in Afghanistan that I kept inside for a long time. I basically ran off a helicopter near the Pakistani border, and you know, it was basic security, but looked in a person's eyes that was really close to it. There was a farmer, and that dude was absolutely terrified, and I didn't you know, like, it was one of my first experiences in country, coming off a helicopter. And, you know, I was expecting something totally different, and I realized this guy's not a combatant, the people around this person is not a combatant. What is going on? How does this work? And, you know, I was still young, I was a specialist, you know, I was a teenager, and I think I might have just turned 20 actually, and yeah. That's something I wrestled with the whole time I was over there when I came home, and later on through making the decisions that I made to stay here or to get out and stuff like that. But I really couldn't express that or articulate those things until I learned how to write a little bit of poetry. I come from a farming family, you know. I come from poultry farmers and cattle farmers, so I was able to identify with that guy immediately, you know, and see what he was seeing. So I was like, oh shit.
You didn't like what he was seeing?
No, I didn't, because I wouldn't like that if I was standing there, you know.
Right.
But that made the situation so much more complex. Collateral damage is, you know, the term used to cover a lot of those complexities, because you can't say what they really are. The terrorist is looks just like the farmer, you know.
Right.
So, and when you have what you have right now, a nationalist movement that is formed because of foreign occupation, you have a dangerous situation, because the Pashtuni code in itself is one of resistance. I will not let a man invade my home, my town, you know, my country. Like, they start to my wife's bedroom and work their way up. And
makes sense.
yes, yeah,
You know,
and
you know, perfectly reasonable.
yeah, and they're master resistors.
Mobile broadcast news.
Are you worried that somebody might see this video and
Nope.
come arrest you?
That's what I'm waiting for.
I'll do my best.
Ultra assassin for the United States government, and that's what the United States government is training people to do in the special operations community. You go into an indigenous society, pretty much. Through trying to write this stuff down and interpret what I was writing down, I was eventually able to admit to myself I was until the occupation of Iraq and Afghanistan end, and we both understand that's, you know, that could be the course of our lifetime, but I really don't intend on being a cog in this machine until this government is with our system of government, and tell them that's what freedom is and that's how things should work. When that's, you know, that has nothing to do with their lifestyle and how they live. That's us trying to tell other people how they're supposed to live. It's a simple society construct, and train them to fight or train them to do something for the United States government in their interest of the United States government. And then, like an instance in Afghanistan, you try to replace their system of government